Hello and welcome to this tutorial where I show you how to create a multi-language website. So I have a very simple website here, just some text, and there's a menu there. So I just want to show you how we can change this menu to suit a specific language. So here I have a language menu. So if I click on language, you see there are several languages here. We're already on English and you can see that, but we can move to French, and there are changes to French, and then Spanish, and then Chinese. Okay, so we're going to go over how to create something like this. So let's get started. Now, in order to follow along with this, you must at least know the basics of PHP, and you must have created at least a PHP, maybe one PHP website, just so that you understand what's going on. As long as you know what functions are, what variables are, we should be good to go. So to begin, what we need to do is open your browser and navigate to localhost/lang. That's the folder I have created in my htdocs folder. Okay, so inside htdocs I have lang. So htdocs is my servers folder. So depending on the server that you have, that will depend on that. So make sure also that your server is running. In my case, I'm using Apache because I installed XAMPP. But regardless what server you have, just make sure it's running and you have a folder named lang in your servers folder. Okay, so let's begin. And I will now use Sublime Text as my text editor, but you can use any text editor of your choice. And I've put my folder here, the lang folder. That's drive C XAMPP htdocs lang folder in there, so I can easily add files from here. Okay, so to begin, let's make two files. So I'm going to make a new file. I will save this in the same folder. This will be our home page and it will be index.php. Okay, there it is. And then I'm going to create another file. I'm going to call this one lang.php. Okay, so this is the file that you have to include on every single page of your website so that the languages can work properly. Then we're going to get a new folder, create a new folder called languages. And this is the folder that will contain all the languages that we want. So let's create some files in there for the languages that we're going to have. So I'm going to create about 4 new files. I'm right clicking on the folder itself. So here I'm going to save this one. So I'll put some PHP tags like this. And the code I need in here is I need to create a language array which will contain all the needed content, but we'll just do this in one page. Save this one, and I'll save this one as en, short for English.php. So depending on the language, you're going to save the files with that language code. So the codes that you save like this en are entirely up to you, since they won't be shown to the user. But if you want to use the standard versions, you can just go to Google and search for language codes and look for the ISO, what is this? ISO 369-1 code. These are the codes for your languages. So for example, if you search for Chinese, you see that the code is ZH, etc., etc. So it's up to you. You don't have to use this at all. So now if I refresh my browser here, because I now have an index page, I'll see a blank page. So that's good. So I've saved the English language in the languages folder. Let's save another file here, and this one is French. So fr.php. Okay, I'll close it for now. Save the Spanish es.php. And like I said, the codes are up to you. I'll save Chinese ZH as we saw .php. Okay, great. So I have the languages down. That's good. And then we have this lang.php file. And here we just put some PHP tags for now and save. Okay, good. Now let's go to our index page and actually create a page we can see. So I'll put the basic HTML template. I'll name it languages like this and save. Then I'm going to create a header so that I can add some links in here. So I'll add a div, I'll add an A tag here, put a hash because I don't want this link to go anywhere. And this is the home page like that. Okay, so I'm just going to add a few things here. Duplicate these guys a few times. So there's home, there's about us, and then we can go to contact us, and then we can go to something like login, sign up, log out. So this one, log out, and sign up. Okay, so login, sign up, log out, and then just a few things so we can have something here, maybe profile, or not just a profile. Maybe let's pretend somebody is logged in. We'll just say, hi, John. And then here we'll put a link to change the languages. So we're going to say languages like so. Okay, very good. So if I now go to my page, this is what I see here. Okay, but let's make it look more like a proper menu. So I'm going to add some styles here. We won't be putting an external file since this is not really a styling tutorial. So I'm just going to add styles for header, and this one will have display flex. And then it will have padding of 10 pixels. And that's probably it. And then I will have header dash div so that I can style the divs inside the header. And in here, I will just add some padding of 10 pixels. Also here, I want to center these items. So I'm just going to say justify content center, align items center. So this one aligns them left to right in the center, and this one up and down, top, bottom, center. So with this, I should have a proper looking menu like this one. Okay, pretty good. And let's add also, let's say the body tag. Let's add font family of Tahoma, since everyone has that. Okay, so this is going great. Now what I want to do is add a drop-down menu here because we need to be able to select the languages. So let's quickly add a drop-down menu. So I'm going to drop this in here, and what I'll do is I'll give this one a class of drop-down so I can style it differently. And then I will add another div and give it a class of drop-down content, something like this, so that we can have some content in there. And then I'll repeat myself with these divs here like that. So just copy those guys, paste in here like that, because it's pretty similar. And then instead of these, I'll have languages. So let's start with English. Let's go to French, Francais. And then let's go to Espanol, Spanish here. And then let's do Chinese, Yinyu. Chinese. Yes, so we have 4 languages: English, Francais, Espanol, and Zhongwen. All right, so with this in mind, this is what we have here. There we go. Okay, so this is not styled properly, of course, so let's do some styling. First of all, I want this view to be, to change the the display type. So what I'll do is with drop down here, I'm going to add, I'll say dot drop down. This one, I'll give it a position of relative. Okay, that way it can hold this thing in relative position. And then I'll get the drop down content, and let's put that there. This one will have a position of absolute. Let's add a bit of margin to the top, and I'll say margin top 10 pixels, so it moves down a little bit. Let's give it a background color of white so it's not transparent. Let's add a slight border so we can actually see the drop down menu. So say solid, thin, and then put a slight gray, and then put some padding as well, 10 pixels, so the text is not so close to the border. Alrighty then, so let's see that in business, and there we go. So we also need a slide menu here, so I can show you that this menu can actually work well. So let's copy these guys. Let's go to where it says hi John. Let's do exactly the same thing. Let's drop this down. Let me paste the content in there, but this one is for maybe, let's say, profile, and then let's say settings here, and then maybe something like logout, right? Although we have logout there, but I just want to demonstrate the menu. And of course, I need a class here for the menu of drop down. Okay, so at least I have two drop down menus right next to each other. But of course, we know that menus don't work like this. We have to hide them and then just show them a bit later when we need them. When somebody clicks on these things, then we show the menu. So for now, we want to just hide them. So what I'll do is I'll create a hide class, which will just have a display of none. And then I can go now to each of these drop down content and put the hide class to hide them. So refresh, and there we go. But when I click, nothing happens because I haven't put any code to handle that. So let's add a little JavaScript to make it functional. But before we do that, let's just add some main content here. So I'll add a section, and then I will put a class for section. So section, and here I'm going to say padding 10 pixels. Maximum width should be something like 600 pixels, and then margin auto, so it's on the center. And we'll need some content to add to this, so just go to loremipsum.com and copy the content, the dummy text from here, and let's paste inside the section. Okay, so let's move this inward a bit for clarity. Alrighty then, so let's go back and see what we have, and this is the page we have. So it kind of looks like a valid website, yes, but the menus are not functioning yet, so let's fix that. Right, so to fix the menus, let's add some JavaScript. So let's put some script tags. We don't need that at all. And in here, what we want to do really is to add an event listener to every class that has dropdown. Every item with a class of dropdown, let's add an event listener for a click event. That way we don't have to add it here, because we could add it here and say on click, but this is clunky. We just want to add the class and have it do that automatically. So we'll use this class to find everything with this class and add an event listener. So how do we do that? Let's grab every item that has a class of dropdown. So I'm going to call them dropdowns because it's plural, I guess. So we'll say document.query selector, because this is how we find things in JavaScript. And then we put the class name, don't forget the dot there to signify it's a class. but this will only grab one of those items. So to grab all the items that have this class, we'll put O at the end here. So another function called query selector O, and this will give us all the drop downs. Then what we can do is loop through them. So I'm going to use a for loop like this. So it will loop to the end of the array that was given, because this will become an array now of objects, and this is one object at a time. So it's showing me one of those objects at a time, and so I can say dot add event listener, so that we can listen for a click. So we'll call it click there. That's the event we're listening for. And instead of putting a function here, actually we can just put a function here. Okay, so let's do just that. We can just say function and put it right there. Or you could put the name of the function here without quotes. Just put the name of the function and create the function down here. But I think we can make do with this. So we are creating an event listener which will run this anonymous function when things happen. So when somebody clicks, what should happen is we should toggle a class. So in the function here, we can carry the event. So we will just put E, which will be our variable that will capture that event. This can be anything. It doesn't have to be E, it can be anything you want. Just know that it will capture the event. So I'm going to say e.currentTarget. Now, e.currentTarget is the item that was clicked. So this represents the element, the div element that somebody clicked. And then with this, we're going to say dot, because we want to do something with it. So what we want to do is when somebody clicks on it, we want to remove its style, because remember, if somebody clicks on this, this drop down, so the style of hide is here. We want to remove this hide style. So since this is the one that's receiving the click event, okay, we want to tell it to look for a child of itself, because that the child is in here within itself. We want it to look for one that has drop down content and then remove that class from it. So let's copy that class name so we can find it. So I'm going to say the target dot query selector, but not selector all, just one. We just want one item, and that item has a class of that. So the fact that we use that element with query selector, it means it's only going to search not throughout the document like we did here, but it's going to search only in that item and find that child. And then we want to do something to that result. We want to go to its class list and actually remove, we want to remove, let's just toggle like this, toggle the hide class. Okay, so if you want to add a class to an item, you say classList.add, or if you want to remove, classList.remove. If you want to toggle it, classList.toggle, which means it will just check if it's there, it will remove it. If it's not, it will add it. That's what toggle does. And that should do it, just that. So let's refresh and let's see what happens. And as you can see now, I have a valid menu. But if I click on these, you see both of them have are active at the same time. So what I want to do is loop through all the drop downs and then close them and then open the one that I've clicked. That way it will look like one has closed the other. So this is a loop within those drop downs, right? So maybe it would have been a good idea to okay, no, we can still do it here because we have this value here. So we want another loop in here. So I'm just going to say for like this. Okay, now since we're inside here where I means something, let me just put drop downs again. See, I already means something. Let's change this I to something else, maybe X, so that there's no collisions there. Let's just change it there. Okay, so for every one of these, the drop down, we want to find the child, the same one, of each one of these. So there we go. Dot query selector, drop down, dot class list, again, dot remove, oh no, dot add. We have to add the hide class. So we make sure that every one of these, so what we're doing here is, when this function runs, actually this function doesn't run with the I, so we could have used I and it would have worked just fine. But for better code readability, it's good we changed it. So what we're doing is we're hiding all the menus first and then toggle the one that was clicked. So that's what we're doing here. So if I refresh, I should have this one open, but when I click this one, the other one closes like that. Okay, very cool. All right, so now these are actual links we can click and actually do something. Now, these are languages here, so I would rather have them in their native language. So I'll go to Google Translate, and I have English here and I have Chinese on the other side. So yeah, this isn't right. This is Chongguoren, which is Chinese person, but I want Chinese language. So let's see, Chinese language. Yes, Chongwen. Copy that and let's come back here. So on the menu itself, I want to use Chinese for Chinese, so a Chinese person can see that and read it, because otherwise if they don't know English, that would be a problem. So let's try some French as well. What is French in French? Okay, there we go. Let's get the masculine one and put it there. Francais. Okay, Espanol as well. So let's go to Spanish and click on Spanish and oops.
Español.
Yes, Espanol. Okay, so let's put that one there as well. Let's put capital E. Okay, good. At least now the people from a particular language can read properly what the language is. Okay, now we want to make it functional so that when we click on one of these languages, it changes to that particular language. Okay, so what we need are language files. So you're going to develop language files over time that you reuse in multiple projects. So that's the best way to do it. So we'll go in the languages folder where we have these language files. Now the English one is the default. So whichever of your languages is the original language, you don't need to write anything there. You can just leave the file as it is and just leave this emptiness there, because you don't really need to translate that language. But let's go to, let's say Chinese, and let me paste that. Okay, so we are in China now. We're in Chongguo. So let's put, so the idea here is this. So every word that you want to be translated on your website, you have to put it in that file. So put the original language, which is English in this case, and then put the translated version. Okay, so we have home, about us. Let me copy these guys up to here and paste for quicker, for me to work a bit faster. Okay, so I'm going to, what was I trying to do here? I have no idea. So I want to select here, let's add some quote, tab key, and then click end so that we can put a comma like that. So what we are doing is we are creating an array of these items. Okay, so this is an array. John, of course, will change because it's just a name. So let's just leave the hi in there if we want to. And let's put a comma there as well. So let me select all the commas. Move back a bit, put that arrow so I can put some content in there. So what I'm trying to do here is translate every one of these. And if I go back to the index page, I still have these guys to translate as well. So profile, settings, etc. So let's put one for profile and another one for settings. Okay, great. Alrighty then. So since PHP is case sensitive, you have to take care of the case as well. Type them exactly as they are on the other side. So let's go to our Chinese translator. Google Translate, yes. So here we are typing in English. Let's type home, and that's home in Spanish, I hope. Let me go to Chinese for now. So this is Jia. Yes, that's home for real. So let's put that there. I don't know if that's what is used for websites though. Let's try about us. Okay. Yeah, this looks about right. Not sure, but yeah. My Chinese is very rusty. Contact. It's yes, woman. Liangxi, woman. Okay, that sounds about right. Let's paste that. So this language file, you're going to develop it over time, right? Over time, you're going to develop this, and then you're going to refine it as you learn more of the other languages, so that it grows over time. You can add as many words as you want until it's a full library. So let's just put this, whether it's correct or not, we just want to see it work. So let me do the login, sign in. Yes, there we go. Log in there. Let's try register, because register is kind of like sign up. And wait, log out and then ni hao. Log out. And then hi, which is ni hao. You good? Yes. All right. Oh, there's languages also. Language in Chinese should be you. Language. Yes, it's you. Okay. Like English is yin you, so you is language. Okay, that sounds about right. So we have Chinese now, which is good. So we have one translation at least. So let's make it work with one, and then we can translate the others later. So at least I have Chinese and I have English, which is the default. So let's make the functions that will do the job in lang.php. All right, so let's create a couple of functions. So what I'll do is, first of all, you have to require this file on every page. So let me just do that. I'm going to put PHP tags at the top here and require the file. So I'm going to require lang.php. So this should be required on every single page. Okay, there we go. And that's it for here. We're just going to focus on this now. And also we need to change the links here. So this one, all of these guys will link to index.php, because when you change the language, we go to the home page. But let's put a query string there and supply a value called lang and put an equal sign and give it the name of the language. So the name here should match the, what's this? The file name here without the PHP. So EN, for example, for English, and then for French, FR, and then we have ES, ZH there. Okay, good. All right, so this is all we needed, so we can capture this in the get event. So let's go to lang and create something here. So here I'm just going to require a language file. So I'm just going to say require and I want to get the language file from languages slash the file that I want at that time. So let's say if it's en.php, it will be like that. And so once we require the file, and then we can use what we have to grab it. But the problem here is I wanted to do a few calculations before it can apply the file. So let's create a function to do that. So we say function set language. That's what I'll call it. You can call this function anything you want. It doesn't really matter. It's just for us to set a language. So instead of requiring a particular file, like here, I'm just going to tell it this function to return that file name or the file path, and then we can require it by calling the function itself right here. So let's do that, because you can call a function before you declare it in PHP, so that's nice. We'll require, we can still put this line down here to still work, it doesn't matter, just looks neater here at the top, I guess. So set language is going to return a path to that to the language file. So, or maybe let's call this function a bit more appropriately. So we'll say, we'll call it get language file, something like that. Maybe that's much better. Okay, so we get the language file path and then require it to, so here it's returning the English version, so we shouldn't see any errors because a file with the English name exists. And there we go, no errors, that's good. To know that we're actually running this function, let's do an echo and say here to make sure that this function is actually included in the project, and there it is. So that's good. All right, so let's figure this thing out. So we're going to assume we're going to add, what's this? A value in the session, right? So we need session start, like this. Okay, now if you have a bigger website that you already created, maybe session start was already started somewhere, and if you start it again, you might see an error. So you can find out on Google and just say PHP check if session already started. Then you find check if PHP session already started. Stack Overflow is nice. So you get something like this. So people giving you answers. So we can copy this code here and take a look at it. There we go. So this is going to prevent you from colliding session start, because this will cause an error if you run it twice. So here this will just make sure that it's not there, and then if it's not there you start it, if not we ignore it. Okay, good, just in case you have a bigger project. And now what we want to do is inside this session we want to have a value called lang. So this one will be lang. You can call it anything you want, doesn't matter. So here I just want to check if it's already set, and so I'll do this and do that and then put en there like this. So what I've told it here is that if this one is equal to this, okay, so I'm setting it to itself. Whatever value is already set in lang, set it. But if it does not exist, that's why these are there, let's set it to a default value of en. That way we have English as the default. All right, and then if something is in the get variable, which is if the user is trying to change the language, they're going to put something in the get, so we can get this from the get variable and look at the language they want and set it to that instead. So I'm going to just duplicate this, repeat this, but instead of checking for the session, I'll check in the get variable. If there's something there, then set it to that. If there's nothing there, then set it back to what it was as session. Okay, good. And then once we are done with this, we can now have a file name, a file path, which is this one. So we return a file path, but we include this. So I'll copy that. Instead of putting a hard-coded en, we're just going to concatenate to this. Okay, good. So languages, whatever language you selected, .php return, and it will get to that, and that file will be included. And then now we create a function that is going to actually display the content. So what we do is we go to the index page, or every page on the website you have to do this. So let's say I want this home text to be translatable. What I'll do is I'll add a function here. So with PHP, you have to echo a result of a function, right? Or maybe we can tell it to echo from the other side like this. And then you put the function name, like maybe, let's say in this case, our function is called lang, like this. And then we send it that value. Okay, so PHP open tags, we echo the result of this function. When we send it home, then it should translate based on the current language. But this writing function names doesn't look too, it disturbs the flow of the HTML. So in my case, I prefer to name the function, because you can start a function name with an underscore like this. So that's what I use. I just name it as underscore and forget about it. So, and then instead of putting PHP echo, because you can put an equal sign instead, this looks much simpler. So let's go to lang and make sure this function name exists. Now, if you want, there's another function with underscore. You can still put 2 underscores like this to just make sure it's unique. But let's use 1 for now, that's okay. So let's create that function underscore like that. And then it will expect a string to be supplied, and then we just return that same string for now without doing anything to it. So we just want to see if it will work and refresh. Okay, so cannot redeclare underscore. Right. So it's telling me that there's already a function in PHP because I haven't declared any functions. So this means that there's already a PHP function named underscore. So what we need to do is put 2 underscores so that ours has 2 of them instead. So I'll go back to here. That will make it unique, I'm sure. So let's refresh. Okay, now it works. Good. Alrighty then. So now we can click on language and try to change it. So if I click on Chinese, because this is what we have at the moment, so click on it, you see that the link now has a question mark and lang is equal to ZH. So in the normal sense, this is supposed to change my language, but nothing has happened here. So let's fix that. So first of all, anything that I want changed, I should put it inside these. So I'm just going to select all of these guys and paste. Then I'll copy the ending part here. I'll just copy this end tag here, use the arrow keys and paste. Okay, so I can do the same for all of these guys here. Use the arrow keys, paste, and what else? This one too, paste. Then copy the front side as well, and then select equally like this. Move the arrow keys, paste here. Where are we pasting? There. Okay, so this makes sure that languages will be translated, or it's language, right? Language. And profile settings, etc. Is it language? It's languages here, so let me put language to match that. Okay, so everything is in translate mode here, even the hi. Let's put that there and close that tag. Oops, I forgot a bracket. There we go. Okay, so anything that you need translated, you have to do this to it. Right, so let's come back here and refresh. Still nothing, okay? Because the function itself, where is the function in lang? It just returns the string as you have given it. But in this case, what we want to do is check for because once we require this file, in this case, it's this one. It has an array in there called lang. So I'm just going to check if not empty lang and whatever string was sent. So if there is an item in lang that corresponds to what was sent, then let's return that instead. So I'm going to say return, and then I will return that item instead of just the string. So this is just a backup plan. If the item is not there, then just return it as it is. Okay, so let's come back here and refresh. And you see nothing has changed because it does not recognize that lang exists, because this is a global variable and we are inside a function, so not forget that. So what we'll do is we're going to request lang to be a global variable. So we'll say global lang so that we grab it from the file. Whatever file was loaded, we grab it in there, and then we can try to use it now. So if I now refresh, you see that my language has changed to Zhongwen, Chinese. Okay, so this is good. Now if I click back to English, you see there we are, we have English. So let me just go back here. Let's set it to Chinese, and let's remove that from the link. You see that it's still Chinese regardless, even when I refresh the page. Let's refresh the page. It maintains the Chinese. So if you want this to be, because right now it saves in the what's this, in the session, which means when the session runs out, the language will change. But if you want it more permanent, you can save this in the users row in the database. So wherever you're saving that user's information in the database, you can also save the language. And then all you need to do is put another of these here, just like this one. You put this one here, right? So first of all, it checks if the session exists and then puts a default value. And then here you do it again, but instead you check for the database value. If it exists, put that, otherwise leave it with that. And then finally check this one and use that one instead from the get. And then if the get is available, which means the user wants to change the language, remember to save that new changed language in the database as well. But I will not show the database saving version because it would mean we have to create login and sign up, etc., etc. But that's too much. So for now, we'll use just the session. Okay, very good. So this is really all it takes to do. But let's try and add for other languages as well, because right now if we click on them, nothing changes. So all you need to do to add different languages is just copy what's in here. Let me open the French version and let me paste there. And then all I need to do is translate these guys to French. So let's try home and let's translate to French. Okay, so home is right there. Let's try a few of these. Let's say about us. Let's copy that and paste it there. Let's try contact us. Okay. Let me try login, sign up, login, yes. Let's try sign up. Okay, so let me change, what's this? Language. Right here. Okay, anything that you can see here, I sign up, login. So we are almost there. Hold on a second. Oh yeah, same as register there. So let's put that sign up here and let's try log out. Now here we have a problem because we have this, which is the same as these guys. So it's actually a better idea to use double quotes on the outside like this. I don't know why I used single quotes, but double quotes are better. So when you're making your own, use double quotes here. It's much better. How about hi? Salute. Okay, there we go. Good. So now we can translate to French as well. So go language and French. And as you can see, things have been translated. If I click here on English, we are back to English. If I go to Chinese, if I go to Spanish, Spanish is not available. So same process, just copy these guys. Make sure to change these as well, but I won't do it here because just for the sake of time, because I don't want you guys to just watch me change stuff here. That is common sense, right? So let's just change a few things here, and so that we change to Spanish, and let's say home. Okay, so these things will grow over time. As you add languages, the library will grow bigger, these language files. Okay, so about us, and then where are we? Contact us. There we go. Okay, so you get the idea, I guess. Let me just paste this. Let me do login and sign up just so it looks better. It doesn't look suspicious. Login, sign up, and we can call it a day. Or I should have said register, yes, just to be sure, but yes. And then log out. Did I do that one already? No, I did not. Okay, good. Alrighty then, I can always change these, but because they are not visible here, it's okay. So refresh, and there we go. We have Spanish now as our language. So French, English, Chinese. Alright, so I hope you have learned something new here. And you can always expand this to even an existing website, no problem. The important thing is just to add the function that translates like this, and then add the item to your array as well. All right, so of course the code, link to the code is in the description if you want that, and I will see you in another video.